In February of 1914, the Dodge brothers announced that they would be doing their own automobile. That later came to fruition in November of 1914. Up until that point, the Dodge brothers had just been manufacturing and supplying parts for Ford. Welcome back to the Shop Mini RC, everybody. I'm Ken, and today we're taking a look at a new one of these. This guy is the V2. I don't know why this side, V2. Well, it's the same on both sides. Let's open it up. We're going to check it out. This is a 6x6 Atlas, and it's one of FMS's best sellers. So what we've got here is the V1 Atlas 6x6 from FMS, and there have been some upgrades on the new V2. We're going to check it out. We're going to dive into it. My guess is if you wanted one of these things and hadn't picked one up yet, then this new V2 is going to be awesome. It's going to be great for somebody who has not yet picked one up. If you've already got one, maybe you want to just pick up the upgrades if you haven't already upgraded it. But, you know, they're going to be very similar as far as I know, but we're going to dive into it. We're going to check it out. We've had this guy, we've ran around a little bit, not a ton, but it's been super fun. So I can imagine the next one's going to be even better. Bam! Look at those sexy beasts. Atlas V2. We got the red on this one. 3 major upgrades in the V2. The gearbox features metal gears offering high precision and greater durability, an upgraded remote control system with significantly improved sensitivity and response speed, and then an upgraded 130 motor with torque up to 100 T. I don't know what that means. I think it's a 100-turn motor. 130 sized? Yeah. All right. Anyway, here's some cool features, some awesome stuff. There's some dimensions for you. You can always pause and read. We're moving on. Nice. Extra springs. I wonder if these guys are a little bit stiffer. They're probably a little stiffer. So you can swap out springs. Manual USB charger. Little hex wrench. Look at that. So one thing to note right off the bat, the V1 cabs were a matte kind of finish. Okay, so the red and the blue were matted. I don't know if you can tell through the video here, but these new ones, oh yeah, you can definitely tell. Matted versus glossy. So that is an update for sure. We did a little chrome painting on here just to make it stand out. Same on the back lights. We chrome painted those using a little chrome pen. Should be in our description below. These liquid chromes on Amazon. Super cool. Use them way more than I ever thought I would. Oh, we even did the top up here. Probably going to do the same thing with this guy. Looks like our rear cage and all that stuff's the exact same. Looks like our tires the same, and these are 19.1 by 13.5 by 55. Again, that's their scale size. But yeah, these are some cool trucks for sure. And again, now the V2's got some updates. So again, if you've been kind of waiting to get one or weren't able to get one from the first batch, they've re-upped it. So what I've been told is that this truck specifically was one of their best sellers. They completely sold out of the first production run, which is why we now have a V2. They wanted to make sure that they were able to continue offering this truck. It's one of the best trucks they've had, especially through their Amazon marketplace. So this is only going to be available on Amazon. It's kind of an Amazon exclusive, which is nice because it usually means super fast shipping. But they've decided to go ahead and re-release it because they knew that people would want it because, well, again, this first one sold quickly. And, you know, in true FMS fashion, which is one thing I love about FMS, they did do some upgrades. Now, there's not a ton, but man, look at that motor. That's a significant difference in motor size. You can see it already. Jeez. So that's going to really help the way this guy feels. That's going to be awesome. Also, the drive shaft is different. Well, not the drive shaft, but the side of the shaft. I wonder how different the transmissions are. There's only single output shaft on this guy. This guy looks like it's got a reverse output shaft. So it might be a totally different transmission. We'll open up the cabs, we'll take off the cabs, and we'll look under there and see how different they really are. But I'm definitely happy that they're not just re-releasing the truck as it was. They've taken some of the feedback and they've improved. You know, there's a lot of companies out there that just kind of keep releasing the same stuff over and over, and it is what it is. You know, it works for those companies, and you know, sometimes people don't really care. That it is what they want. But you know, one of the things FMS is really good about is listening to the user base and increasing quality and upgrading, you know, electronics or adjusting things in the build to make the truck better. And that's exactly what they've done here. So again, if you didn't pick up one of these, but you were on the edge, I think now it's kind of a no-brainer. It's probably worth picking up if you are already considering it. If you weren't considering it, well, let's watch this video and see if maybe it is something you want. 6x6s are super fun. They handle way better than you would expect. I mean, that extra traction is huge. They are longer, so they do have a little bit of a turn radius issue. But you know, that's just part of being a 6x6. Now, if you're looking for a 6x6, there are not a ton of options out there, especially at this scale. Most of them, you end up having to build them yourself. But with the options that are out there, I think this is going to be a pretty decent one. Hopefully the price point won't be too crazy. I think they're starting at like $169, but I also heard that they can go as low as $130, depending on if you use coupon codes or, you know, the initial run of these. Again, I try to avoid pricing just because you can always easily click the link in the description and see what the pricing is right now, because pricing is always changing. And yeah, with these guys being on Amazon, it's an easy one-click purchase, which is super, super convenient. All right, guys, let's go ahead and get this guy kind of opened up here. We're going to go through it. I'm probably not going to go super, super deep, but I will go semi-deep. We'll open it up. We'll measure things and check stuff out, tire size, look at the differences, all that good stuff. And then, of course, we're going to run it a little bit. But, yeah. All right. I'm excited. This truck's cool. All right. Let's go ahead and open this guy up, show you what's in here. There's a big old battery. That's for sure. One thing that I kind of don't like is this cab doesn't really move forward very far. It's partly because of the bumper here. That is one thing that kind of drives me nuts when I'm trying to get in here. Usually I'll just unscrew it, especially if we're working on it. Just swap in the battery, not a big deal. But if we're working on it, we definitely pull this cab off, and we'll do that here in a little bit. But I wanted to go ahead and pull out this battery, show you this monster of a battery in there. It's a 600 milliamp 2S LiPo FMS battery. This is ran in some of the other trucks. Let's go ahead and power this guy up. It is on the older, like Losi style Molex here. And our transmitter is on 4 AAAs. Very familiar transmitter. This one says it's a G3 V3. I'm not sure what that little brown dot's for, but these are pretty good transmitters. This one's without the dip switches. It still has all that functionality that you're looking for as far as setting your endpoints and your forward brake reverse, all that good stuff. That's in here, and we can go through that more as we dive into this guy. Let's go ahead and turn it on. Power switch is right up here in the front. And there we go. We have some lights. They turned off. That's kind of a good thing. That means that they're controllable. It means we can turn them on and off with a switch from the remote. I believe that is going to be as simple as hitting the bind button. Boom. Bind button, lights on. So I dig that. Ooh. Oh, we're forward brake reverse right off the bat here. So we'll go through all the transmitter functions here in a minute. But definitely feels a little smoother. Let's see. Oh yeah, definitely more power. Kind of like you could feel the torque. A little bit more torque than the original. Yeah. That new bigger motor is definitely going to be helpful. All right, I'm going to go ahead and pull this cab off so we can get a better look under there, and pull the cab off of the blue one, the V1. We'll check them out. Super simple, just pull those 2 screws out. And this guy should just lift right off. We do have to worry about our lights here. Do I want to unsnip all this stuff? I don't know if I do. So even if we were to unplug it, we'd have to unsnip it and yeah, we're good. We'll just leave the body here kind of hanging, but that does get it so it's a lot more accessible in here. We can see things a little bit better. Yeah, that's a big beastly motor there. Motor does say 7.4 on it. I don't know if you can read that, but 7.4. There's our ESC. It's the FMS R3A 2S LiPo. We have our LED right here, so just a basic light controller. Then we have our channel 1 and we have our channel 3. So if you want to put rear steer servos on here or a winch or something along those lines, you will have a channel 3 here, 3-position switch, that'll allow you to do that. You can control your left, center, and right if you did double axle rear steer, or even a single axle rear steer, or if you put a winch in there, or even another light controller. You could plug a light controller in there, and then it will notice the signal change and be able to turn on and off and go through all the different settings that that light or light controller might have. So that's cool. I love that there's an extra channel on there, even though it's a 2-in-1. I do love that it's a physical switch here. I'm a big fan of just leaving the switch on and then using your battery as you're on and off. That lets you know whether your battery's plugged in, because you should never really leave your batteries plugged in on these guys. You always should try to unplug them when you're done using them, and by leaving it on, it lets you know. You know that, okay, I have to unplug it, and then you know your battery's unplugged. Also, sometimes those press button switches, they break. And if they break, you can never turn them on. At least with this, you leave it on, you're not putting wear and tear on there. Or if it breaks for some reason, you can usually just kind of use a pin or something to slide it over and leave it always on. Or worst case, you, depending on the switch, you're able to just connect the 2 wires if you have to and just remove the switch completely. Either way, I believe this is the same servo, even though the original has this little sticker on there. I believe it's the exact same servo, just without the sticker. I love the details with the exhaust here. That's so fun, and the cage looks super cool. I dig that. Let's go ahead and open up the other truck as well, just so we can see them side by side. As I go, I'm reminded that this whole truck is Phillips head hardware, guys. The whole truck is Phillips head. The axles, the skid plate, the body mount, everything is Phillips head. Whereas on this guy, look at that. That's some hex hardware. It's all hex hardware. Yeah, buddy, that in itself, an awesome upgrade. I am so glad that they did that. That is freaking sweet. Again, FMS listening to their customer base. People complained about this Phillips head hardware. I absolutely hate Phillips head hardware. So yeah, super sweet that they were swapped that over for us. And yeah, that gets me way excited. That makes me want to work on the truck more. I really didn't want to do much with this. I wasn't inspired to do much just because, honestly, the Phillips head hardware just turned me off. I just hate it. It just makes everything so much harder to work on. Like, you're always slipping or trying to find the right Phillips head to get it to work. Whereas with this, it's a 1.5 or a 2mm or a 1.3, and that's it. You're good to go. Like, standard stuff. You're not like forcing a screwdriver to do something it's not supposed to do because it's just a little bit different in the depth or the angle or whatever. Phillips head screwdrivers is a 2mm, but like probably need a 3 to be doing this properly. Could feel it slipping. See, this one's even smaller. What is this? 1.5, and it feels like it fits better. I don't know. Whatever. But it's as simple as that. Get those out of here. And boom. There we go. You can see the huge difference in the motor. And the transmission is different. This transmission kind of looks like it's FCX24 transmission, actually. Maybe I'll grab one of those trucks and we'll look at it and compare. It looks like an FCX24 transmission just without the 2-speed. Looks like a single-speed FCX transmission, which is freaking awesome. And it just barely fits in that same chassis setup. But yeah, look how small the transmission is there. It definitely gets us a much bigger center forward-facing, which that's huge, right? So this motor sits really low, which forced them to use a kind of a 3-link setup. You can see there's not a 4th link there because the motor just sits right there. Instead, you've got your bar here for, well, that's your drag link, but right here, it kind of helps keep things stabilized and keeps your axle from shifting. And this guy is still set up the same way. It's got that bar, and we're still running only a 3-link style setup. But you do have room now, and they could have, I'm surprised they didn't, put that 4th link in there. There's literally a mount in the chassis, a hole in the chassis, and a hole right here in the upper truss. Maybe it's not thick enough for 2 screws. No, it looks like there's plenty of space in that little hole in there to get another screw in and actually do it 4 link. I'm surprised they didn't do that. But most importantly is now you can actually, if you start to adjust your suspension and whatnot, you'll be able to get a lot more compression up until you're hitting on your steering links, your drag link, and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, you'll be able to do that without having to worry about hitting on the motor. Whereas this guy, yeah, you just didn't have the room. Like your link literally hits on the motor almost immediately. So I dig that. Now, because they are different transmissions, that does mean different skids here. You can see the bolt patterns, very different. But, you know, it is what it is. That's fine. Links are going to be the same as far as the link mounts are concerned. Looks like our drive shaft is slightly shorter on this one because of the way the transmission is set up. But then our rear drive shaft is going to be the same here. Those are metal U-joints in there. Obviously, the tabs on the ears of the drive shaft are still plastic, but that center portion and the pins, all metal. So that's good. And again, I don't know if I mentioned it already, but this whole transmission is metal inside. It's all metal gears. Freaking awesome. Much better transmission gear setup than this little guy here. There's plastic gears in there. And again, a reverse rotation output shaft there if for some reason you needed that or wanted that. Actually, are we currently reverse? No, it's currently going the same direction. So this is rotating counterclockwise, and these are going to be rotating counterclockwise. This one obviously reverses. But you're going to have a little bit of torque twist here because of that. Not a big deal. And I am super excited that all this is hex hardware now. So cool. It is the same shocks. These are just like some friction dampener shocks. They are super bouncy. Ideally, they'd start including their new FCX oil-filled shocks. I think those would be a lot better on here. You know, and ultimately at some point, it would be cool to see this truck as a full FCX 18 platform or 24 platform truck. It doesn't matter what the scale is that they call it. I mean, currently it's a 18 scale. So they can just put on the FCX 18 because that's really what the body size is. But yeah, that would be super cool. But again, that's going to probably be way down the line, way in the future, if they ever do it. Like I said, the reason they've released this just like this, which is some minor upgrades, is because for the price point and their sales, it just made sense to continue producing just kind of an updated version. Again, this one sold out. They're like, we need to keep moving them. Let's people want them. Let's produce another version, which is some minor updates. I love these wheels and tires. Did I say that? Oh, they're so cool. And they're real beadlocks. You can see the originals here. It had Phillips head hardware on the wheels, and now we've got hex. And again, you can swap out these tires, even though I like the look of these tires, but if you really want something hardcore grippy, you can definitely swap it out, keep these nice light wheels, keep your rotating masses at a minimum. It would be really nice to see some upgrade parts for these guys, even if they're FMS or maybe even Vitrazi, just some simple stuff, you know, brass knuckles, brass diff cover, maybe a heavy brass steering link. Just a little bit. That would be super nice. Get that extra little bit of weight on the axle, especially with the servo on chassis versus servo on axle. The weight's going to be a lot less on the axle where we want it and a little bit more on the chassis where we don't want it. But that's okay. Again, this is more scale. So one of the big things that I like about this new V2 is the electronics. I love that it's got the new transmitter. This old ESC 2-in-1 combo, you have to use a bind plug to bind it. Whereas this new guy, you literally just turn on the remote while holding bind, it'll blink, turn on the truck, and then you're bound up. Worst case, turn the remote on and off, or off and then back on, and it should bind. But this guy also doesn't have a channel 3 anywhere on it, so it's basically all you get is your steering servo, and that is all. No real light control. I mean, there's lights in there, but it's not, you know, it's hardwired. Whereas this guy, you've actually got your plugs, and you've got your channel 1, and you've got your channel 3, and like I said, super easy to bind. Just a much better ESC 2-in-1 combo overall. Now that being said, let's go ahead and go through the remote a little bit here. We'll go through all the different settings and show you how to change the drive mode and stuff like that. So on this guy, all the different adjustment settings and information is in your manual. You can go ahead and pause if you need to read. I know some people have actually lost their manuals or they buy it secondhand and then they don't have a manual, so they're always looking for that. So here you go. You can go ahead and pause on these pages, but I'm going to go through the important stuff here. The one thing that's not in the manual that everybody's going to want to change is that drive mode. Like I said, it comes out of the box, forward, brake, reverse. And for a crawler, you usually don't want forward, brake, reverse. So forward, brake, let go, reverse. Generally, you just want forward reverse on a crawler. The way you're going to do that is you're going to double tap your reverse here, and then you click through the bind mode, the bind button here, until you hit it. It should be the third. So forward, brake, reverse, hit it again, forward, brake, reverse, and number 3, forward, reverse. Now, just keep hitting it, keep testing it until you get it. Should be third. And then you can save that by just double clicking the reverse. Anytime you double click to go into any kind of adjustment mode, just double clicking that button to get out of the adjustment mode saves everything. So we should be good there. Forward, reverse. Very good. Now, the next thing is you're going to want to look at is your trim and your throttle trim and your steering trim. Those buttons are just the natural buttons here. So if you need to trim it out for some reason, you feel like you're kind of turning when you shouldn't be, just give it a couple little bumps on the trim and it'll be nice and straight. And then if your throttle feels like you're giving it throttle, but you're not, if you can hear the motor going at all, forward or reverse, then you're going to adjust that trim here until that sound goes away. I don't know if you can hear that, but there's a little bit of sound in there because we've got the trim. But that's what that's about. When you hear that double beep, that means you're centered. Your trim is centered, at least in the remote and ESC. Now, your servo may not be centered because depending on how the servo horn is put on and adjustments that could be made to your steering may off-center it. But just knowing that double beep indicates center on the transmitter. So that should be center per our transmitter. So if you ever take your servo horn off, make sure you get that double beep, then put your servo horn back on as centered as possible, and then you can fine tune it from there if you need to. Okay. The next thing is going to be your dual rates, and you can see it says trim plus dual rate. To do your dual rate, you're going to max the direction or max on the steering either way, and you can then adjust your dual rate up and down. You can see it. When you get that long beep, that indicates that it's maxed out on that level of dual rate. Right now we're at 0%, so it won't even move. So again, we'll go ahead and turn our wheel all the way. It's going to start increasing our dual rate. We can push it all the way to the end. But what you'll notice is the truck starts to lift. And you can see we're overworking that servo a little bit because look at that. Too much. So you're going to want to get to a nice spot where you're not getting a crazy amount of binding or overextension on your steering. And so we're going to max turn it and then turn it down just until that kind of settles down a little bit. And that'll get you your best steering angle, which will get you a good turn radius. Being a 6x6, you're not going to have the best turn radius, just nature of the truck. One thing that would help a ton is if you're able to get just a little bit of overdrive in this or rear underdrives. That would really help steering in a 6x6. It gets you a way better turn radius. But yeah, you can max that out here. Same thing with your throttle. If you max throttle it or max reverse, either one, you can then turn down your dual rate. For example, if you have a kid or somebody who's newer and you want to make sure the truck is really slow for them, a little bit more controllable, you're not worried about them kind of bashing it into something. Just again, max throttle or max reverse, and you can slow it down a ton. Okay? And again, you hear that long beep. That means we're maxed. This new motor is awesome. It's way better than the old one. So I'm super excited for that. Oh yeah, a lot more torque. Very cool. Another little side note, and I already showed this, but I'm going to point it out. If you need to adjust your channel 3 for any reason, this tells you how to adjust your channel 3's trim right there. Okay. And then last thing we're going to do is we're going to do our drag brake. You're able to go from 0 all the way up to 100. And that's an easy one as well. You just double click that reverse button. Same way we did our drive mode. And then 0, 50, 75, 100. Okay. So if we put it on 100, we're going to have a ton of drag brake. And then 0, very little drag brake. We're going to go ahead and do 75 on this guy, I think. Yeah. Then double click. Okay. To reverse, it's basically same as doing your dual rate. You max out whatever channel you're wanting to reverse and click the reverse button. Simple as that. Throttle, reverse, throttle, reverse. Okay. And then the last feature, which we've already shown, but I want to show it again, just single click that bind button, and that's your lights. Now, again, there are features if you double click the bind button, the transmitter will go into certain modes. If you click and hold the bind button, stuff like that, I wouldn't mess with that, just a single click there. And again, if you want to bind, just click and hold it. When you turn it on, it'll be blinking. Then you can turn the truck on, and it'll bind itself up. Here we go. Easy peasy. That's everything you need to know about this transmitter. Transmitters are freaking awesome. They bind to a ton of stuff, and they're small, compact, easy to throw them in your backpack. Absolutely love them. I like them a lot better than the big transmitters, especially for the little guys. If you're bringing multiples and you're keeping them on these, it's better than having to throw a bunch of big, bulky transmitters in your backpack or carry them along. So definitely good transmitters. So I mentioned we'd look at the transmission a little closer. They are different. It is a different transmission than the FCX 24 and 18. You can see it's just kind of laid out different. Again, just slightly different. It does have the rear output shaft. This guy actually doesn't have the rear output shaft, the second reverse rotation output shaft. So that is very interesting as well. So definitely a different transmission. I don't know. I'm not going to open it up. I'm curious if the skid would mount into something like the FCX 18. Hold on, let me get an 18. So the FCX 18 is very different. It is a removable skid, but it's not going to mount up just because the bolt pattern is very different. On the sides here, you can see the two holes, whereas on this guy, they're very, well, it's a single hole here actually. So it definitely mounts different, and then there's screws up much further apart. While I was looking at rigs, I noticed something. Bing, bing. Look at that. It's the same skid plate. My guess is it's also going to be the same underneath here. Look at that. CR18 transmission. Yeah, buddy. That's what it is. It's a CR18 transmission. So that's interesting. FMS is using the Hobby Plus FearTech transmission. Yeah, buddy. So now we know. Now we know exactly what it is. Good to know. That means you can put the brushless stuff from here onto here, no problem. Any sort of brushless setup for a CR18 P non-Evo. This is the non-Evo. Or the FearTech Fury Wagons FX118s. Awesome. Here's the Hobby Plus CR18 Pro. You can see same skid. It's going to be the same transmission in there. So, yeah, just wanted to show it off. Actually, you know what's interesting? Oh, yeah, because it's reverse rotation. It's hooked up to the other side. So, yeah, it should drop right in there. Even I almost think that the Evo Pro transmission, that's the 2-speed, would work in here as well, as long as you can get your servo to mount in an appropriate spot to be able to shift it. Should mount, no problem. It's basically the same skid. So, yeah, bolt pattern will match. Should be cool to see if some people take this to the next level doing that. And if you do have this old truck, you should be able to swap the skid to the new skid and new transmission and get all those same options. So don't be too sad if you've got the old guy. You can definitely upgrade it. Shouldn't be an issue at all. All right, let's go ahead and take a closer look at this. It is a 5mm nut there. We're on our standard 7mm hexes. So you can run any 1.0s, 1.2s, 1.3s, 1.8s, anything you want on there. This hex should just pop right off. It's a little tight though. Man, that hex is tight. There's our axle pin. Don't lose that guy. It's a little one. They're tiny. And we're on bushings. And these are actual dog bones here. So it's not a CVD. Just keep that in mind. That could cause, issues if you really start to max out your steering or things of that nature. Would be cool to see somebody release some CVDs or see if anything will work on these from the other trucks. Why don't you put it down in the comments below if you know of any axle shafts or CVDs that will work in here. Because that would be super cool to be able to do. And then let's go ahead and measure this shock here. Looks like at full extension, we're going to be right around eye to eye. 40 millimeters. And then at full compression, we're going to be right at 28, 27 and a half, 28. So I'm curious. I wonder if the FCX 24 shocks will work on there. That can get us some good oil-filled shocks, especially from Nex. Let me go grab some real quick. So here we have some Nex racing shocks. They have true reservoir shocks and then also the non-reservoirs. These are for the FCX 24 or 18. Let's go ahead and open them up real quick. Just want to see if they'll mount on there. These shocks are some of the best shocks I've ever used. I have a full deep dive review video on the TRX 4M versions. There's a couple others where I do some install videos, but I really break it down in the TRX 4 version. So you want to check that out. It's right over there. But yeah, these guys, a little bit longer, just barely. But they should be 2 millimeter here. Yeah, they're 2 millimeter, so same as what we've got going on here. Oh, the only problem is, I didn't think about that. The bottom here. It's a ball joint. It's not a screw, it's a ball joint. I wonder if they're plastic link ends, so I wonder if we can get it out and it'll pop over that ball joint. That would be cool. All right, well that was kind of a pain to pop off, but we were able to pop it off the ball joint here. Let's see if it'll kind of marred it up a little bit. That's okay. See if we can pop it on here. Should be very similar diameter. Yeah, there you go. And you could mount this guy right in there. Let's see, what does our spacer look like there? Yeah, our ball joints are pretty thick here, so you might need a longer screw. You can see that, or just don't use the spacer, but then you got to be careful that you're not going to rub too much on the chassis here. But looks like we can swap these over. If you really want to get some good oil-filled shocks, these are a great option. Yeah, you're going to have to use a little bit of a spacer there, or get a longer screw to use this spacer. I'd probably just get a longer screw. That'd probably be a better bet. But yeah, just a little tiny bit longer. But then, you should be sitting kind of compressed. The weight of the rig should be compressing it. Nice thing is these shocks come with some other springs, so you can adjust your spring rate. But yeah, nice oil-filled shocks. That'll make a huge difference. Fortunately, you'll have to buy a set of 2 sets of them to get your 6, but still very cool. And these true reservoir ones, they're badass, just to say the least. I mean, they're so good. Like, there's an actual plunger in there. You can bleed and adjust, and yeah, they're just so good. They're so good. Anyway, I'm glad to know that these will pop right on there. Just got to make sure they're plastic link ends, not aluminum link ends. And these guys are also plastic. So yeah, sweet. Alrighty, so we'll go ahead and get this guy back together. I did want to point this out. If you wanted to use the reverse rotation drive shaft here, or output shaft, because you don't like the torque twist that happens between here and here, you can swap this around. At least I'm 99% sure you can. All you have to do is, on these axles, basically, you have to make sure you can flip your pumpkins, right? So this pumpkin needs to be on this side, this pumpkin needs to be on this side. You can't just flip the axle because the truss is mounted, is attached to this rear section of the axle housing. But what I think you can do is you can take this rear section here on the axle housing, again, where it splits, and you'll take this rear section and you'll move it to back here, and you'll take this rear section and move it up here. That'll flip your pumpkin sides. And then these back portions, you can just flip. So you should be able to just rotate that around, like flip it, 360, spin it around, because it's the same. It should be the same on the top and the bottom, right? Same as this, same on the top and the bottom. And you just flip that around as well. So it takes some work, takes some time, but I'm pretty sure there should be no issue flipping this to here and then flipping your pumpkins to the other sides, with just reorganizing where these parts are. If you guys are really interested and really want to see it done, maybe I'll make a separate video for that. Put it down in the comments below. If I get enough people that are interested, then I could go ahead and do it. But it's going to take quite a bit of work. And if I decide to do it just because I want to do it, then obviously I'll make a video for it. But I don't think we're going to do it here. It's kind of a lot of time. It's not hard to do. It's just going to take some time. There's a lot of screws and you got to swap everything around. Anyway, I'm going to get this guy back together. I think I covered pretty much everything. I mean, almost at this point, maybe I should just do the whole swap over, but we'll just check the gears in here. I want to make sure that there's metal gears inside of here, just to verify for you guys. I hadn't seen anything in the documentation saying that they are metal gears in the diffs. I assume they are, but we'll double check. Also, I think this shaft is a solid shaft all the way through. I tried to pull it out without pulling off the wheels, and you cannot do it. So you definitely have to pull off the wheels to get that out. Some of them have separated drive shafts. Some trucks will have separated drive shafts where you can pull out, you know, like a knuckle. You can pull it out. Ah, they are plastic. So plastic gears in there. Now, on our other version, we hadn't had any issues with stripping them out or anything, but just so you guys know, they are plastic. But it is a solid shaft here, so that's interesting. Tons of grease. Good job greasing it. Good job greasing it. And it kind of keys onto the axle there. So you can see there's just like a flat spot on your axle there, and then your spur gear or ring has kind of a square notching in it, and that's what's keying in, like so. All right. Now, I'm not sure if they make upgraded metal gears on this. I hope so, or at least I hope somebody will at some point, just in case, especially if you try to go brushless on one of these guys. Might be worth it for sure. Like I said, in the original one that we had no issues. I know some people are concerned about bearings versus bushings. Bushings are just fine, you know, especially in a crawler. You're not going fast. They're also better if you drive through water. Now, this guy isn't totally waterproof. It's, you know, it's not a submarine, but if you drive through puddles and get water in your axle housings at all, you're definitely be happy to have bushings versus bearings, just because bearings, you have to maintain them. If they get wet, you got to dry them out. You got to re-oil them, clean them, make sure that there's no issues. Otherwise, they'll rust. Whereas bushings, doesn't matter. You're totally fine. They can get wet. You don't have to dry them. Whatever. But yes, this is symmetrical, so you will be able to flop these around. Like I said, if you want to take the whole thing apart to get that reverse rotation going on, you definitely can. All right, I'm gonna get this back together. Then we'll go ahead and we'll do some quick running.
Control, climbing up the rocks, never looking back. Controls on lock, feel the full attack. No terrain can stop me, mud or sand. Atlas 6x6, king of the Badlands. Ooh, I'm breaking free, crushing trails, nothing stopping me. Six wheels spinning, power untamed. Atlas rides, I can't be chained. Servo locked in tight, torque like a beast, tearing up the night. No hesitation, just grip and go. Every ridge, every valley, yeah, on the road. Climbing up the rocks, never looking back. Controls on lock, feel the full attack. No terrain can stop me, mud or sand. Atlas 6x6, king of the Badlands. Trails, nothing stopping me. Six wheels spinning, power untamed. Atlas rides, I can't be chained.
There we have it, ladies and gentlemen. This little guy is a blast, and if it's something you've been on the edge of, teeter-tottering whether you want to pick one up or not, especially if you've been waiting since the V1, now is definitely the time. This guy is a big improvement over that V1, especially with just the hex hardware, the motor, all that stuff just makes such a big usability difference. So much better than the original. The original was fun. It was awesome. But this guy just definitely knocks it up a notch, especially if you like the shiny versus the more matte look. Then that's definitely a bonus. If you like the more matte look, then unfortunately you'll have to find a V1 or find somebody that can trade you out a body, or you can maybe try to tape off your windows and spray some matte on top of it. I don't know. Either way, this thing's a blast and it's fun. Again, it's Amazon only, so check out that link in the description below if you want to snag one up. And yeah, definitely worth it if you're looking for a 6x6. Electronics are much better too. So anyway, I appreciate y'all sticking around. Make sure you support the channel in the ways that you can, which is by liking, subscribing, hitting that notification bell, and of course sharing it with people that are interested in the same kind of stuff that we're interested in. Huge shout out to all of our channel members. These guys here are all channel members. They get to see content early before anybody else and without ads. They also get other perks and benefits and whatnot. You can check it out by clicking on that channel member link. And you can see kind of what the different tiers are. We also have a Discord, so if you're into chatting and you're into Discord, definitely check out our Discord. It'll be down in the description below as well. Channel members have a special channel in the Discord as well. So if you're a channel member, make sure you join the Discord and let me know when you join, and I'll add you to the special channel member only Discord channel. But yeah, if you want to just chat, share your builds, ask questions, Discord's a great place to do it. We have an awesome community in there. All right, guys, like I said, I appreciate you hanging out. Appreciate you watching the video on these guys. They're definitely cool, especially if you're looking for a 6x6. 6x6s are awesome. They're fun to drive. You need to get some overdrive in this guy, and it'll help with the turn radius a ton. Just have to see if somebody makes it at some point. It'd be super cool if someone did. All righty, guys, until next time, get out there and build something awesome. Build a car, build a course, build a community, because that's what this hobby is all about. And then smash it, crash it, and bash it. Just don't break any expensive parts. Peace.
Lights on bright.